What's good? I want to talk about why I do gardening. And oh great, no turn signal. Nice. So that car was no turn signal. I'm on the other side of the street, they're on the other side of the street. I'm assuming if there's, and I'm making a left turn, I'm assuming that if they don't have a signal on, that means that they're going to come straight across the street, you know. So I'm waiting for them that whole time sitting there. And all of a sudden, when traffic cleared again, they make a left turn. I mean, perhaps they changed their mind, but most likely they were just an inept fool that just doesn't use their turn signal. Anyways, in my previous video, I got uploading right now on my channel, when I was talking about, I'm going to get into my gardening thing in a minute, but I need to mention something I forgot. And I was talking about how I want to have enough money to where I don't have to worry about money. And that doesn't even mean that I got to be rich, you know, even though I mentioned rich people in the previous video. I don't even care about being rich. I just want to have enough money to where I can not have to worry about money. Like, if I found some cheap trailer to rent, like I did before, and I recently did. I found a trailer for $400 a month, 2 bedrooms. And I can't get it because I don't have the credit. And I don't have the deposit. And it's 3 hours away. So if I'd have to go start working immediately, so I wouldn't have like an income, and so and because of how much I do earn with my business, right? I don't make enough to be able to say, hey, this is my income, and they're gonna look at it and be like, there's no way you're gonna be able to rent our place, even at $400 a month. But it's probably owned by a corporation, you know, so, and it's sad because that would have been a great place. Now, if somebody would help me out, like get me a fundraiser going, or, you know, give me enough money, like I could perhaps make a deal with them to pay them, you know, 3 times up front, give them a extra on the security deposit and a few months up front. And I did the math for that several months back. I should have done this. It's the new year. I should go back and revisit everything, but nothing's changed. So it's not like, you know, as far as the math goes, I should go back and revisit, you know, what it's going to need for me to get ahead. But it hasn't changed. In 3 months, the situation hasn't changed. So, you know, so it really doesn't matter if I do it or not, really. But anyways, so, you know, if I had enough money up front, I could offer the rental people, you know, an extra amount of deposit or rent just to kind of get in, you know, and then, you know, and then they can use that amount for the end of the rental contract, if that makes sense, just to give them some comfort in knowing that I'm not just going to show up, move in, and then get evicted, you know, something like that. The likeliness of that happening is slim, unless, you know, somebody decides they want to help me out. I think I'm going to talk about this in a moment too. I think what will eventually happen at some point, as long as I remain free right now and flexible, I can look for somebody that has a property that will let me come and do exactly what I'm doing here, you know, part work in exchange for a place to stay, some similar arrangement, maybe part rent, part work, to be able to stay on their property. And anyways, I think I do gardening, and it made so much sense. I was listening to a video about like why people do unimportant hobbies, like, and I think they were talking about gardening specifically, uh, and and they were talking about how like the reason why people do it is because it gives you a sense of responsibility over something that has no strings attached to it. So you're responsible for the plants, but you don't have to feel responsible. It gives you a free responsibility, a responsibility that has nothing attached to it. So you get the, aside from its like meditative quality to it, to gardening, there's this sense of freedom that comes with it. It's a responsibility you get to do from your heart, right? That you get to do from an internal place. There's no, at most, if you neglect it, the plants will die, but your life isn't going to change as a result. Your life isn't going to get destroyed. So it's just like this, it's kind of a freedom, a sense of freedom in a sense. It's what life would be like if you woke up every day and did what you really wanted with your life, instead of like clocking in at a job and doing something that you hate so that you can have a box to go to at night and shower in and cook in, right? um that's forced. The society set up to force you to uh do something you don't really want to do so that you can, you know anyways. So yeah. um yeah, I just wanted to talk about that, and it's like that's all a good reason to that's a really good reason to be able to, I'm sorry, I'm getting tongue tied here. That's a really good, should motivate you and give you a taste of what real freedom is like, you know, in a sense. Uh, and even if you were doing what you really wanted with your life, even that work, it would act as a means to take care of yourself. So it would add that responsibility of taking care of yourself, your kids, and and your quality of life. Um, and even the freedom, I'm still trapped, don't get me wrong, but there's a certain quality of freedom that comes with working for yourself that's entirely different than when if you've worked for yourself, you know what I'm talking about. It's entirely different than when you worked for somebody else. That sense of entrapment, there's a certain quality of entrapment that you feel when you're working for somebody else that does not come when you work for yourself. And it's a slight sense of freedom. And when you experience that contrast, I want to say you can't go back, but I know people who have went back, and I would guess the reason why they weren't too affected by having to go back is because they kind of already had it made to begin with. There's this lady that I know. She had a haircutting business and a salon or whatever, and she had a whole salon. And I would be willing to bet that the reason why she did not keep it in operation was because she probably had a husband that maintained her lifestyle, because she's divorced. Because it doesn't make sense why she would go back and work for other people like she is now, doing some kind of math thing, accounting type of thing with this company instead of being free. It's hard for me, and you can argue and say, well, that's because she had to do the responsible thing and go back to work and do what she had to do. Well, it depends on the context. If that is what she had to do in order um to take care of herself and her family, I guess, right, that is kind of valid. But um and I've never asked her really, like, would you prefer to go back and have your own business? I'm just gonna get there's okay, put it this way: there's a lot of women out there where the husband makes more money and they're able to have a business. I've heard tons of stories like this where they have a business, but the husband works and he's like the main breadwinner, and it allows the wife to have this business on the side, even though it brings little to no profit, right? And so that's how they're able to sustain it. There's a lot of businesses out here, believe me. Look around. A lot of businesses that are more mom and pop type of businesses, like if it's ran by a woman, don't get me wrong, there's some businesses that by women that thrive, and that's cool, right? But I'm just saying there's also a bunch of businesses that exist that are a result of, like, the man marries the woman. Oh, I've always wanted to do this, and then so they do it, and they don't even make any money off of it because it's like a passion project, and they get the freedom to do their little passion project because the husband brings in all the money. And in fact, I know this one story of this woman. She was losing money on her business, and she wanted to have a more extravagant amount of success than she actually had. So she was willing to take out of their accounts to maintain her business because it was failing. She wanted to maintain the optics of success more than anything, it seems like. And she ends up getting so she ends up cheating on her husband with this other guy, and she starts getting money from him to help continue her business. It's insane, right? In order to, it's so insane to think that, right? And so the husband funds it, and so anyways, it's crazy, man. um I think that the people that would be more comfortable with going back to work for somebody else, um, maybe in the back of their mind, like I knew this one guy who owns the vitamin store. He owns a vitamin store, and that's what he does full time, and he makes a good living off of his business, and really good living. And he once went to work at a company for a while, but it was a stepping stone so that he could grow his business, grow him another business, right? He had a business that didn't work out, and he was just there just so that he could figure out like how to. But he was already privileged. He was already well off. He's just going to maintain his lifestyle by working at that company with the plans to open up the vitamin store business. And this dude doesn't believe in me for shit. He does really good with his business, and he's seen me for years trying to grow my business. He never once said, well, I see how much you put into this, why don't, would you. The only reason why I didn't ask him myself if he was willing to help me grow a business is because he's the guy that tried to help me with a bunch of stuff, and he did help me a few times with some things, but he was trying to get me to convert to Christianity. Really, that's all it boiled down to. So I didn't ask him to help me go into business or even partner with me because of that. Plus, this is the way the Not Net works, right? His brother-in-law has a very successful landscaping company. And he even tried to get me to go work for his brother-in-law. Because, people think I'm incompetent. Like, I don't know how to do my own thing. Like, and, because when you're poor like me, when you're at the bottom of poverty like me, like, people just think you're just inept and stupid, right? And so someone that's inept and stupid needs the guidance and the wisdom of someone who has more privilege and money because they know everything. They know better. They know how life should work. They know how life is, Billy. You know your place. Know your lot in life. You schlub. You poor poverty person. You know, it's your lot in life to clock. While we start our businesses, it's your lot in life to just clock in and remain a slave. You grew up in poverty, and the first part of your adult life was slavery, since you didn't have options. And so as a middle-aged man, come on, Billy, just give it up and accept your slavery, accept your lot in life. Accept that that's how it's going to go for you. Anyways, yeah, right. So it's the sunk cost fallacy, Billy. You've been doing it for so long. You should be all. Then why aren't you? Blah blah blah. Could it be I fought the government for 18 years? Technically, Could it be I was at war for 18 years, and even now I'm suffering from the residual side effects of those legal battles? I mean, but anyways, but I guess everybody's different in the way they're wired. And but I've worked since I quit 10 years ago, working for other people, going on 11 years ago. But technically 10 years ago since I quit working for other people. I have worked for other people like about 3 times, right? I worked for other people. And what I realized is that there's this certain quality that comes with having actual freedom as opposed to when you're clocked in working for somebody else. And I think that those that experience work, like my buddy who got to live with his dad and work all them jobs and then go to college and stuff, someone like that, they feel like the job is just a stepping stone to get to their next thing. That's how they feel about it. They're not in there because they have to eat and they need survival. I wonder if you count up all the meals that my buddy's dad bought for him or had ready for him throughout his whole college career, how much thousands of dollars would that have costed? Make a screen where it's my buddy on one side and me on the other, and all the meals I had to purchase for myself. And there's a digital number going up how many times that I've bought meals because I had to eat. And then beside that, put all the meals that he ate that his dad bought during his college career while he got to work, and put it all into his college. It would probably be maybe astronomical as an overstatement, but I'm sure it would be in the thousands of dollars, right? So he got to take those thousands of dollars, what would have been meals in my place, and invest it into his future as a stepping stone. He wasn't in the slave trap. He was free to make the decisions. And so, anyways, but someone like that, they get a job and it feels like freedom. There's this sense of, well, if they treat me wrong or do anything wrong with me, there's no threat, there's no consequence. I could just quit and go to another place. Whereas like with me, it's like, I had to try to live, right? It's insane, man. Anyways, in a way, that gardening is a little bit like that I did, right? Taking care of something. I guess that's part of the reason why I struggle with doing art and artwork, because when I'm sitting there doing the artwork, I'm thinking about all my chores I got to get done. I'm still doing that when I'm doing the gardening, but I get a sense that I'm doing something out of care that and I can just freely doing it. And I take care of my son, and I love my son, and it makes me feel stressed because I don't feel like I'm able to do enough to take care of him properly, even now. There's not enough that I don't have access to the things that I need to take care of him properly, and I but to take care of a plant, that's really easy for me. So anyways, that's all I got to say about it.